Welcome to the Hyper Growth Zone podcast. This is your go-to resource for personal growth, mastering communication, and influencing and persuasion techniques that will help you unleash the full potential of yourself and others. Here is your host, Alex Morgan.
Have you ever wondered why some people seem to get the exact results they want? They can completely change their mind and their reality, while others stay stuck. Or maybe you have stayed stuck and you're wondering why. So today I'm breaking down the 4 biggest reasons that clients truly succeed and how you can start to think about these right now. Because in fact, these are easy reasons, things that you can easily and effortlessly do. And I'm basing this off things I've seen from clients that I've worked with over the years. And they have some things in common. So welcome to this episode of the Hyper Growth Zone podcast. My name's Alex Morgan, and I'm a master trainer of hypnosis and NLP. So we want to look at and understand why clients succeed. This matters for both clients and practitioners. So if you coach or you do hypnosis, this will also be really valuable for you because then you don't have to be so nice. You can push your clients in these directions so that they can get what they want. So the first reason that clients really win and they really get what they want is radical honesty. So clients who are totally honest with themselves, these are the clients who really win. Now, I have a colleague, and when they get a new client, they have an intake form. And on the form, they tell the client, in order for this to work, you have to be 100% honest with yourself. And guess what? If they're not honest, chances are this person's going to know. We can tell. We can tell when you're not digging deep enough and when you're not being completely honest with yourself. And guess what? Your mind knows too. Your unconscious mind is way smarter than you think. So if you're not being completely honest with yourself, then you're going to be holding yourself back for no real reason. One of the times that I see this, a lot of times when I'm working with clients, we want to create lasting change. We ask for permission. Is it okay for the unconscious mind to make this change and for you to be aware of it consciously? Now, what am I looking for? I'm looking for a nice, big, congruent yes. I'm looking them for shaking their head yes in the yes direction. If they kind of say yes, they maybe say yes, then I'm going to challenge them right then and there. Are they ready? What's holding them back? What's going on? And we may have to dig deeper before we do the technique. Also, during a technique, when I'm asking them what they can learn to let go of the problem completely now, I'm really going to notice what they say and what they're doing. Because sometimes people will kind of half do the learnings. They're not truly being radically honest with themselves. They're not truly digging really deep. So really, if you get that one learning, you might be able to change your whole reality. However, if you're not being honest about your learnings, then you're not going to accelerate your results. So I have seen people who be completely honest with their learnings. They get the results that they want. Even me, when I do these techniques with myself, I dig really deep. I do the learnings because I want to create change. So if you don't have the results that you want yet, you just haven't asked yourself the one question that will allow you to completely have those results. And you could ask yourself, where are you not being fully honest with yourself right now? What is it that you need to know to create the change that you want right now? So think about it. Are you being honest with yourself? And if you are, then you're going to get the results that you want. I'm just telling you, this is what I have seen. People who are completely honest with themselves get what they want. People who are denying the problem, then you're not giving your mind what you want. Your mind is here to help you succeed, and it's being honest with you. And so if your mind's being honest with you and you're not being honest with yourself, then you're not even going to trust your mind. So being honest with yourself also builds deeper rapport with the unconscious mind and allows you to trust the mind more, because the mind already has all the resources. It already has the answers that you need to create changes. So if you're not honest with yourself, you're not going to trust your mind. If you are honest with yourself, your mind's giving you all the answers that you need. So be honest with yourself. It's really important, and I'm sure that you see why already. Now, the second one is clarity. So people who really succeed, they have clarity on what they want. And that doesn't even mean that they have to be sure how to get it. However, they're not uncertain on what they want. So it doesn't really matter if you're sure or not how to get it, because a lot of clients, they know what they want and they end up getting it anyway. And why do they end up getting it anyway? Because the unconscious mind already knows how. So if the unconscious mind already knows how, it's going to get you there. However, you have to be really crystal clear on what you want. You have to give your mind lots of information so it starts to see, hear, and feel that in your reality. Clarity, this is essential. You need to have clarity. One of the biggest problems people have is they don't know what they want, or they don't focus on what they want. So clarity, having clarity, can solve this big problem. And these all go together, because if you're honest with yourself, chances are you're being more clear with your mind, right? So there's some examples of this as well. Wanting freedom from anxiety, better sleep, confidence, next level results in business or a relationship. So if you're clear that you want any of these things, you don't need to worry about the how so much. Better sleep, for example. I'm someone who gets pretty good sleep, and people often ask, how do you get such good sleep? I simply tell them, well, I go into my bed when I'm tired and I close my eyes. And they sort of look at me like I'm crazy, like it's something different. Now, there is a way that I do this, so I know a how. However, over the years, I would go to bed when I'm tired. And I don't do anything else in the bed. I don't have a TV or anything like this. And I start to consider how I'm going to be tired before sleep. About 2 hours before sleep, I know when I'm going to be tired. And I tell myself that my bed equals relaxation. Now, when I do this, my mind is preparing me for sleep so that when I go to sleep, I'm ready to sleep. So I know what I want. I'm clear on what I want, that I really want to get better sleep, and I allow my mind to do the rest. So get clear on what you want and allow your mind to do the rest. You'll see that it's much easier than you think, because your mind is way smarter than you think. The wonderful thing is, with coaching, with hypnosis, with any of the trainings that I offer, by making that decision to start, and I'm not saying you have to join any of these things today, just by making that decision, though, you become more clear what you want. Because if you enter a training, you're not sure exactly how it's going to go. If you start to do coaching, you're not sure exactly how it's going to go. If you start to do hypnosis, you may find that you have no idea what's going to happen. However, I'm going to be there as a guide, and your mind is going to be there as a guide. So sometimes just making decisions shows you that your mind desires that, and your mind is clear on something. So making a decision is much better than not doing anything at all. So what is something that you want right now that you don't know exactly how to create yet? And maybe if you ask yourself this question, you'll at the very least be clear on what you want. And being clear on what you want, you're doing a lot more than a lot of people, because have you ever asked someone what they want and they tell you all the things that they don't want? Most people are focusing on what they don't want, and that's why they are not living in the reality that they truly desire. So by just taking this step of focusing on what you want and being clear on what you want, then you'll start to get what you want. And the third one is people who get results. They have a willingness to experiment. They have a willingness to feel uncomfortable or discomfort at different times. So they are willing to feel discomfort while doing the inner work. Now, I wouldn't say it's a total myth, comfortable transformation. A lot of people think making changes is hard. Now, I don't necessarily say that anything is hard. However, you do have to put in some work in your mind. And I always tell people the more effort that you put in your mind, the less effort that you are going to put into the physical. So have you ever had to make a certain decision, or have you ever not wanted to do something? However, when you made that decision or you took that action, all of a sudden your reality became better. That's because you seeked out some form of discomfort, and that discomfort led you to what you want. Now, of course, this podcast is called the Hyper Growth Zone. However, where do many people spend most of their time? They spend most of their time in the comfort zone. So in order to get to the hyper growth zone, it's actually a lot easier than you think. And I've recorded a full episode on this. It'll be the first one in the series of this whole podcast. All you have to do is take a small risk that most of the time leads to a huge reward. So many people, they get comfortable with being comfortable, and they don't actually do something. I was speaking to a mentor of mine about a week and a half ago, and he asked me what I was working on. And I told him I was actually working on quite a few things. New fiction book, some other things, getting some new clients, entering some new business that I've never done before. So I was actually feeling a bit uncomfortable because some of the things I've never done before, 2 of them actually. And he said, well, how can you make yourself even more comfortable so that all of this seems comfortable in the future? And I thought, well, that's a good question. So I decided to dive even deeper into these things and push myself even more. And he even mentioned that a lot of the clients that I work with, when in the company that they send me clients for, he said they love competition in all areas of life. So he suggested that, look, maybe you should be competing with yourself more in different ways. And maybe this will give you even more of what you want so that you can automate this in your reality. Because he said if you needed one thing, one feeling to get what you want, what would that be? And I was thinking, well, something like kindness, passion, all this, confidence. I said, this is all automated, though, in my mind already. I already feel all of these things. And he said, yeah, that's right. And so I said, yeah, I probably need some more competition, or I want to be more competitive with myself to truly blow past any boundaries and get more than I've ever achieved before. And that competition, that'll have you feeling a bit of discomfort. So this helped me not be so comfortable and caused a bit of discomfort. Now, if you think about it, the reason that this really worked is because I was being honest with myself. I was telling this person the truth. And at the same time, I was also being clear in what I want. I had things that I was working towards, so I was clear on the end result that I wanted to get, and I needed to add kind of a little more fuel to the fire to get there. So you can easily recognize and kind of lean into a way that you can maybe be more competitive with yourself that will make something you're doing just a little uncomfortable. So you have a little bit of discomfort so you can get what you want. So think about that. Where's somewhere in your reality, something you're doing now that you could have a little more discomfort to help you get what you want? Because guess what? If you're not getting it right now, you're doing something to hold yourself back. And I'm not here to be nice. We're here to push on the gas. Anytime that you start a car, do you ask the engine for permission? No. You turn the key, you push on the gas, and you go. So it's time to do that in your reality. And the fourth thing is people who are really successful, they take aligned action. So when I'm not seeing them, when I'm not working with them in the room, what are they doing? They're taking action towards their goals. The unconscious mind, the way we program it and reprogram it together, that's not enough without them consciously and unconsciously integrating this in their reality. The more action they take, this also gives more repetition to the unconscious mind, and the unconscious mind needs repetition for a habit to be installed. And people who get results, they understand this. Small, simple, or big, huge, ambitious actions, if you take these, then you are the one who gets powerful results. And people are probably going to be asking you, how are you getting what you're getting? And you can simply tell them that you're taking action. So think about it. What is one small action you can take today to integrate something that you've heard today, or that you felt today, or that you saw today in your mind as you were listening to this episode? I'm sure there is something that you can do, and you and I both know that you're completely capable of doing this. So taking action is a lot more important than you think. Now, back to something I said earlier. When you do all of these things, you're putting effort in your mind. Since you're asking your mind questions, your mind is doing a lot of the work for you. And remember, your mind already knows how. So guess what? You're not going to have to take as much action in the physical because you're putting effort in your mind. So if you can take small actions each day and you can think about what are those actions, what actions are going to be most important to you getting your goal, it's not going to seem like a lot of work. That's why I say a lot of this stuff, it doesn't take any hard work, and I'm not going to use that word that it takes hard work or that it's difficult. And taking action, maybe it feels uncomfortable at first, and that's fine. Because remember, when you feel any sort of discomfort, that means you're probably on the right path to getting what you want. So if you combine all of these, all four of these things, you can be really successful. Because when you're honest with yourself, have you ever known someone that was completely honest with themselves? And you knew everything they were telling you was the truth? They were probably really exciting to be around, and they probably made you really curious to even learn more about them. So what if you were like that? And have you ever been around someone that was so clear on what they wanted? Or think about a time that you were so clear on what you wanted, and you seemed to get that thing quite easily and effortlessly, didn't you? This stuff really works, don't you think? And when's that time that you felt uncomfortable? However, after you did that thing, or you experienced something, or you thought in a different way, or you had that conversation with that person, that discomfort went away and you saw that you got exactly what you wanted just through a little bit of discomfort. Just thinking in a different way can be that discomfort as well. And how many times have you taken a small action and it got you exactly what you wanted? Think about that, because these four things make it really easy to get what you want. And focus on at least one of these for the rest of this week. Focus on at least one of them, and you'll start to see how your reality changes That's right. You may find that your reality changes in ways that you never thought that it would, all because you decided to listen to this episode and put the effort in your mind. Getting what you want isn't luck. Now, when people see me and they know where I live, even people here in Greece, when I tell them, yes, I live in Crete, they often say, "You're so lucky." And I say, yeah, that's right. I am. I know, though, deep down that it's not luck. It's something that I created. Whether or not at the time I thought this was going to be the exact path, it's something that you create. Everything that you do is something that you create. It's not luck. So do these 4 things because you want to create predictable results. You want to create your ideal future. That's right. I know you do. So thanks so much for listening. Go ahead and share this with someone who will benefit. Because like I said, even if you're doing one of these things, starting out with one this week, you'll start to see that your reality changes. So a lot of people can benefit from listening to this. If you haven't already, go ahead and rate the podcast wherever you are listening. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope to see you on the next episode.